Hello and welcome to the Farm Traveler Podcast. This is episode 9, and our guest today is Katie Dotterer-Pyle. She is a dairy farmer in Maryland, and she's going to talk to us today about how their dairy farm got started, her background in the dairy industry, and a bunch of good stuff about dairy, talking about some issues going on in the industry. A lot of family farms are going under, especially dairy farms. Prices of milk going up, and just kind of how she sees the consumer farmer relation in terms of dairy and all things agriculture. So thanks for stopping by and hope you enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the Farm Traveler Podcast, Katie Dotterer-Pyle. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well. So you are a dairy farmer in Maryland. Walk us through how you got started.
Okay, yeah, so I've only actually been in the state of Maryland for 5 years. I grew up in the state of Pennsylvania, actually, smack dab in the middle. I grew up half hour north of Penn State. Did not go to Penn State, but right in the middle of it. So I grew up on my family dairy and love my family, and my whole goal of growing up was to be part of the third generation at home. It didn't work out. I love my family, but we just, there's 3 generations there, and sometimes you just don't get along with each other. My grandfather, who started the farm, is 91, and he still comes to work every day. He also rides a motorcycle at 91, so there's that. So he's, still active. And then it's my uncle and my dad, second generation. Then third generation, I have a brother and sister back home and 2 cousins. So I actually met my husband at another dairy farm, and my husband grew up on a dairy farm, also as third generation, in the state of Vermont. We met at a dairy farm in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I actually took his job, and he always wanted to have his own farm. Now, his family sold their farm back in 2006, but he always wanted to have his own dairy, and I just thought it was like this crazy idea that would go away someday. It was not, because we went back to my family dairy, where I thought I was going to be the rest of my life. And we were there for a year and a half, and we decided to strike out and start our own farm, which it seemed crazy, and it's still crazy. So we started our own dairy farm in 2009, and we actually went to Weir's Cave, Virginia to start. So we started, it's 10 years ago this year, actually. We started with 90 cows. And so fast forward, we rented 2 facilities, I was 23 when I started owned my own business. And we started with a $300,000 loan just for cows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, crazy, right? 23. Who does that? So fast forward to 5 years ago, after renting farms, we ended up and bought this one here in Union Bridge, Maryland. So now we have grown significantly from 90 cows. We have a total of 800, and out of those 800, we milk 370 2 times a day, every single day, 365 days a year. So my background is all I know is dairy. That's what I grew up with, and it's still what I do today.
So walk us through the typical day of a dairy farmer. Now, I know you guys are up way before the crack of dawn, and you go to bed middle of the night sometimes. So what's the typical day like for a dairy farmer?
Okay, so a typical day is, and my day varies because I also teach part-time to make ends meet right now, but a typical day just on the farm, we are up we're supposed to be up at 4. Usually that last alarm clock goes off at 4:30, but we're up at 4:30, we're at the barn by 5. Our commute is like a 5-minute walk, which is pretty sweet. So we start milking at 5 a.m., and milking takes about 4.5 hours, 5 if you want to count all set up and tear down and all that. So milking gets done, calves are fed, and all of those chores take you till about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then after that, it's herd health, which means we're taking care of any cows that have any issues, any sick cows, and we're constantly cleaning, right? Because the higher quality milk that you ship as a farmer, the more you get paid. So it's just common sense that you're going to keep things tip-top shape. Something's always breaking, so you're fixing something on a daily basis. And so, the rest of the rest of the day in between milkings, because then we're going to start milking here in another hour, so at 5 o'clock tonight, and that will go till 10 o'clock this evening. So in between those 2 milkings, it's making sure our cows, get the attention that they need, um, and fixing stuff and just, making things go.
What kind of milking parlor do you guys have?
We have what you call a herringbone. So we can milk 12 cows on each side. So you can milk 24 cows at a time. We're averaging about, it's a little under 100 cows an hour. So it's a herringbone, which means when those cows come in, they're not, like there's parallel parlors where they are obviously parallel to each other, but a herringbone, they're kind of at a slight angle. So the milker goes on the cow from the side instead of between their rear legs. I do not like it. I prefer rotaries or parallel, but didn't really have a choice when you buy a farm with a herringbone.
So the dairy industry is really having some struggles right now. The price of milk keeps dropping and dairy farms are going out of business. So what's the state of Maryland dairy right now?
It's pretty horrible. I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. You're right, farmers. We are seeing a huge increase in farmer suicides every month. It's really, really heartbreaking because this is not just a job for us. This is our livelihood. And for a lot of us, this is what we grew up doing, and we don't really know any different. And, when you put your life and your, everything that you know and everything that you own and into your cows, and then not to, at the end of the day, you're not getting paid for all the work you do. And my husband is a prime example. The man puts 14 hours in every single day. I mean, he's up at that barn for 5 a.m. and most nights he doesn't get home until 7, and or even later. And we don't have a paycheck to show for that. That's why I have to teach part-time right now. And yeah, milk prices are, a lot of people don't understand what affects them. We are one of the very few industries that we can't control the price for our product very well, because it's a commodity. So two big factors play into milk price. One is exports. As a whole, the U.S., we export milk. And when I say that, it's not fluid milk, right, because it's perishable. So a lot of it's in milk powder, cheese, butter, things like that. As a whole, the U.S., we export 18%. And so our biggest customer is Mexico. The next biggest customer is China. So, it all depends on what's going on with those countries. China overbought from us back in 2013, so they have a lot of inventory, so that's why they're not buying a lot now. And the other big factor that plays into milk price is domestic demand. And so a lot of people here in the U.S., they don't drink milk anymore. And unfortunately, that comes because, through these bogus celebrity endorsements and these diets that are dairy-free this, dairy-free that. And what really bothers me with that is people have forgotten the nutrition in milk, the nutrient value you get through dairy. And so, I have a hashtag that I use a lot on my posts. It's Ask Farmers Not Google. And I have sometimes tweet that to Ask Farmers Not Dr. Oz, Ask Farmers Not Natalie Portman, because these people have never set foot on a dairy farm. Yet people believe what they say because they're Dr. Oz, because they're a celebrity. Mm-hmm. Farmers are less than 2% of the population. So we have a very, very small voice compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't understand why more people don't go to actual farms to see what's going on, like how their food is being made, instead of just trusting these celebrities that have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, and I love farm tours, absolutely love it, because I get to witness what I call the light bulb moment, and that is when somebody, who's genuinely curious, who wants to know where their food comes from, rightly so, man. You should want to know what's behind your food, what the origin is. And so when people come here and see things firsthand, see it with their own eyes, they're like, oh man, I didn't know this. I'm like, I know. You kind of just want to be like, I can't tell you how many times, especially with women, they don't understand the milking process until you compare it to breastfeeding or pumping. And it's like, guys, it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, like there's such a gap between farming and consumers, which, as a farmer and a big advocate, I try my hardest. I run our Facebook and Instagram feeds. I just started a merchandise website that you can learn a little bit more about us through. But again, with being less than 2%, it's a really, really hard thing to do. And especially today, I just feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle with all the voices out there right now. The state of Maryland is, I think, really bad compared to most. I've had a lot of neighbors go out of business in the last few months even. And here in the state of Maryland, there used to be over 1,000 dairies. We are currently right now below 400. That tells you anything. And we've got big metropolitan areas. Like we're only 45 minutes from Baltimore. We're 65 miles from Washington, D.C. There's a lot of different reasons why dairy's going out, but prices are definitely number one right now. And it's not because we're bad managers or we're bad business people. Like
Yeah, exactly.
We've been through equity for 4 years now, and when you are not, I did a financial video last year, and I put my finances on the table for people to see. People have no idea that it cost me $25,000 a month just to feed the 370 cows here at this farm.
Wow.
Yeah, people just, and when people want to complain about their electric bill, and I was like, yeah, well, ours is $6,000, so.
That's so much for electricity. I can't believe it. So I found you on Instagram, and you seem to have a pretty big social media presence. So how have you used social media to inform consumers about your business and to kind of build your brand?
So I definitely use it. People love cows. Like it's really funny, and we've learned as an industry that people love what they love more than cows is humans with cows. Because if you haven't grown up on a farm, cows are scary to people, right? They're these huge, huge animals. I mean, they weigh anywhere from 700 to 2,000 pounds. But what people don't realize is they're gentle giants. I actually had mine out for a walk yesterday. I'm trying to reach people that have never set foot on a farm, and maybe they never will, but at least they can get a glimpse of it through social channels. And I also, I don't like to post just about the farm all the time. What I like to do is I want people to see that farmers are just like other people. We are human. We like the same things. I'm a straight up like typical female. I like to get my hair done every 6 to 8 weeks. The one I just posted today, not farm related. I have seasonal depression. I'm really jealous of you in Florida right now. So I try to do an equal balance of this is life on the farm. I do a lot. My job here is mainly on the farm is feeding calves. So I take care of our young stock, and then I also speak Spanish. So some of our team members here at Cow Comfort Inn are Spanish speakers. So it's just really great to be able to speak with them and learn about their culture all the time. And so I like an equal balance of farm life, but showing people that we're real people too. I mean, the negativity, I've been through that. I've been attacked by so many hateful vegans, and I have nothing against vegans. Like, there's a difference between vegans and hateful vegans, but when you get
Absolutely.
I've been attacked relentlessly. I mean, these people, they think, they tell you they're such compassionate people, but the death threats that I've gotten, like, they don't faze me anymore. There's been times where I'm like, why do I even post this stuff anymore? But for every negative comment that I've received, and I think a lot of other advocates would say the same, you have 5 other positive comments or really conversations and engagements with people that they're just so appreciative that you're sharing your life with them, because otherwise, had they not followed you or not known you, they would never know what goes into dairy production.
So what are some consumer misconceptions that you see towards the dairy industry?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? I think the big one I like to hit on right away is antibiotics. I always ask people when I do a farm tour, I take them to the hospital pen. And I, ask them, okay, if you have an infection, you go to the doctor, yes? And they say yes. And I said, okay, what does the doctor prescribe to you? And they tell me an antibiotic. Well, shouldn't I be able to do the same thing with my cows? But then I go on to explain that any cow that receives an antibiotic is separated from the herd. We can't sell that milk. Antibiotics are illegal in milk. And a lot of people don't know that. Another big thing people get hung up on is hormones. I think a lot of people forget 7th grade biology. Every living thing has hormones. Your lettuce has hormones. All your produce has hormones. So yeah, cows are living beings. They have hormones. Are there hormones in your milk? Natural ones, yes. Added ones, no. That used to be a thing 10, 15 years ago, but it is no longer anymore. Another one is animal welfare. It blows my mind that people think we abuse our cows. Our cows are our livelihood. We have a saying in the industry, if you take care of your cows will take care of you. It is common sense that you're going to take the utmost care of your cow, because in return, you want that milk production, you want to have a healthy calf, so it's stupid to abuse them. Are there bad apples in every industry? Of course there are. But I can, I assure people that the bad people or the bad apples in the industry, they don't stay in business very long because you can't. It's not a sustainable way of doing business. So those are like, I guess, the top three that I hit on. I mean, I could go into environmental stuff and all that too, but there's a lot of misconceptions out there that people, again, refuse to ask an actual farmer about.
So let me get your thoughts on different types of milk, like almond milk, soy milk. What are your thoughts on those milk products that aren't actually milk?
So yeah, my first thought was they're not milk. I call them milk juices. You know what? I'm all for people having choices, right? Like if that's what floats your boat, by all means go for it. What really upsets me though is, there is a reason why FDA and USDA require a nutrition label on every product, and they also require an ingredients label. I bet if most people would actually read those labels, they might be, I don't know, disgusted by what they're ingesting. Um, Again, I really think people are like, "Ooh, this packaging looks pretty," or "It doesn't come from an animal; it's all plant-based, so it must be better for you." No. If you would actually compare one, the nutrients in it, and by that I mean look at your protein source, your calcium. What gets me the most is people are like, "Oh, well, soy milk has more calcium." Okay, here's the thing: big difference between your nut beverages and real dairy milk. Calcium is awesome, right? We all know calcium builds strong bones and muscle. What people do not remember is vitamin D is crucial in absorbing that calcium. If you don't have that vitamin D, that calcium is not doing a whole heck of a lot for you. Vitamin D has been added to milk since the 1920s because of rickets disease. And rickets disease was a bone crippling disease that a lot of kids were getting because they weren't getting enough calcium absorbed in their bones. Nut juices don't have that crap. So while I'm all for consumers having choices, I don't like that the educational aspect of that. Like people are just so misinformed when it comes to those beverage options.
What are some short-term and long-term goals that you guys have for your operation?
That's a really good question today because we're like a lot of dairy farmers right now, and we're just like, do we hang on? Do we sell? Do we we look at people that don't have a dairy farm and we're like, maybe we would like that life better because, we have the stresses everybody else does, but then we have a stress of a business and not just any business, a business that includes the livestock. So to answer your question, my husband and I have been back and forth on this a lot because I don't think getting bigger is the answer. There's already too much milk on the market, so that just seems stupid to me. We've talked about downsizing, but there again, if you downsize, I need to still make sure I can make my mortgage payment on a smaller herd, which means smaller production numbers, and it's a business. I mean, I don't care what anybody says, it's a business. We talked about robots because finding people to milk cows anymore is very, very difficult. It is, it's not a fun job. You smell like cows and manure by the time you're done. So we're looking at, maybe robots. I would love to have some type of creamery. Actually, I would like to do a distillery, and I don't want to give away any good ideas in case somebody steals them. But
Smart.
I would love to do something with a distillery and dairy all at the same time. But there again, as first generation, we don't have the equity or the backup that multi-generational farms have. So we're kind of we're at a disadvantage when it comes to that. So I kind of need a private investor. So if you know of anybody with lots of money.
Well, Katie, this has been a really cool conversation and learning about all things dairy and more about your operation. If people want to learn more about your business or find you on social media, where can they go?
Our farm name is Cow Comfort Inn Dairy, like the hotel. So you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any questions whatsoever, I'm serious about Ask a Farmer, not Google. You can PM me, DM me. Those are the two best ways to get to me. And you can check out our shop too with that logo on it. I think I have a link now on my Facebook page. So yeah, and thanks for having me. Thanks for asking me to do this.
Well, Katie, thanks for being on the podcast. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.